Question, real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right.
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?
Welcome back to Come Back with a Warrant podcast. I'm Brandon Dinitz.
And I'm Monica Ishak. Before we kickstart this week's episode, this is your reminder that this podcast is not legal advice. It's real, unfiltered, and for entertainment purposes only. If you need to speak with a lawyer, call one. Or better yet, call us.
So welcome back. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about one of the questions we get most often, which is, can I get a DUI on that? And what I mean by that is, what type of vehicles, or sometimes not even vehicles, can somebody in Florida get a DUI on or in? We're going to talk about Florida DUI law. We'll talk about some of the updates to the new changes in the law that there are in 2025 and going into 2026. Because by the time this episode airs, it will be 2026.
Yes, it will be.
And we're going to be going over a whole bunch of different things, all focused on DUIs. So strap in and let's buckle down and get going.
Yeah, I think that also something that was like talking about things that like, oh, you can get a DUI for that, is that I didn't know that you could, when I first started practicing, like one of the very first things I learned was that you don't need to be driving to get a DUI. And I was like, what do you mean?
Correct. And that's a big thing that we get asked is, if I was just sitting on the side of the road in my car, can I still get a DUI? And the answer is yes. The vehicle doesn't need to be moving for you to get a DUI. You don't have to be actually driving the car to get a DUI or the vehicle that you're in. And I keep saying vehicle because we're going to talk about things like golf carts, horses, bicycles, scooters. We'll talk about Heelys. So we're going to talk all about that in today's episode.
Honestly, don't know a grown adult that owns a pair of Heelys.
I don't either. But a lawyer posed the question and wrote an article about it, so we're going to touch upon it. Yeah. But maybe no, I don't know any
merch drop.
Right, we're going to have special come back with a warrant
on the side of them.
Yeah.
That like light up too.
Yeah. If you're getting pulled over in these, give us a call.
Yes, and it has our number on it.
Right.
Stay tuned because it's coming.
Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about like what the state has to prove in order for a DUI, for someone to be convicted of a DUI. So usually this is how it goes down. I would say a traffic stop usually, but it could be a crash. Anything that would prompt an officer to, and this is generally kind of like your basic DUI with a car before we make it complicated. So you get stopped by an officer, and the officer usually sees signs of impairment. And then, it's always like the same three things. You smell like alcohol, your eyes are bloodshot and glassy, and your slurred speech.
Right.
It's like they love those three.
Right. That's the trifecta that you generally see in a probable cause affidavit is those three.
It's like verbatim.
Right.
And then usually that person, I would say, likes to call out the DUI people and will be like, you know what, I'm done here. I called out this person. I, was going to issue a citation. I don't know if they do it, but whatever. They end up calling the DUI people, and then the DUI guy comes and he's like, can you get out of the car? We're now doing a DUI investigation. Can you do roadsides? And that whole thing happens. And that's kind of like standard, but there's like legal parts of a DUI that's, I don't want to say like kind of behind the scenes, but it's like the legal aspect that the state would have to then prove in court to prove that this person was DUI, such as this person was driving behind the wheel or behind the wheel.
Right. So operating a motor vehicle.
Yes.
While impaired, and that impairment is either based on the fact that you have a blood alcohol level or you have narcotics in your blood that are present, or you have the normal faculties being impaired. So in a situation where you don't have a breath result, you don't have a blood result, the state attorney's office goes on the impairment of normal faculties. So the ability to walk, talk, drive a car, follow instructions, things like that. because oftentimes in DUI cases, you have refusals. Somebody refuses to give a breath sample, which now in the state of Florida is its own offense for the first time. It's always been an offense for the second time, but now it's also an offense if it's your first time refusing.
Or blood. There have been situations where in the past, the person who's suspected of DUI is asked to submit to a breath test. They say no. And then the officer applies for a search warrant for that person's blood. Judge signs the warrant. They get the blood and they see that the blood is over the legal limit, and then they can prove it that way as well. Because I've had cases where the legal limit was crazy, but the person held down the alcohol so well. I'm like, is it really that high? Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm like, that's how you know people actually are chronically drinking.
Well, when you see blood alcohol levels that would kill a normal human being. I mean, I've seen a blood alcohol level in a 0.3, a 0.4. When you're talking about that, there are people that would be dead with that much alcohol in their system. And they're driving a vehicle. Yeah. I mean, not well because they got caught and they are in trouble for DUI at this point, but they're still doing it. That's an insane amount of alcohol to have in your system. And I've had cases where the blood alcohol level was so high that part of my argument was that there's no way this person was driving the car at the time. Yeah. And that in a case that I did have, somebody's blood alcohol level was so high that based on some of the physical evidence in the car itself, because there was a crash involved, I was able to show that there was no way that person was the driver of the vehicle. They also had injuries consistent with being on the passenger side. They had some bruising.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, they had an injury to their forehead that I explained that was based on them hitting the windshield. And where that was in the car, it wouldn't be possible for that to have been the driver. They also had bruising consistent with a seatbelt going the way of a passenger as opposed to the way of a driver. So I was able to use those things to basically assert to the state attorney's office that there's no way that my client could have been the one driving, that there had to have been another driver, and then taking into account the insane breath alcohol level that the person had, which was, if I remember correctly, it was either a high 0.38 or it was a 0.4. And this was the individual that was driving the car was not driving the car. The individual that I'm talking about
suspected of
DUI was not very large. He was not 6 feet tall. He was not 200 pounds.
They couldn't take that much alcohol.
Right. So all of everything taken into account, I was able to put forward to the state and say there's just no way this person was driving the car at the time of the crash, and there's no way that they can be charged with DUI. And eventually the state dropped the case.
That's so cool.
And it was, it sounds that was a great case.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's kind of the exception, not the rule, because usually you don't have an issue with having a wheel witness. And when I say a wheel witness, is someone comes to court, whether it's the officer or, someone who was involved in the crash, comes to court and says, hey, that person was the one driving. And then the cop says, yes, I showed up and they said that this person was the one driving. And that's when I started doing the roadsides and all those things.
Right.
So if you don't have that person, or that person's missing, or that person that you don't have their address or their information, or they moved, and the state doesn't have a case, they cannot prove DUI. And so it sounds like this person involved in a crash.
When when another driver, who I believe was the one that called it in, they did not see my client exiting from the driver's side of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So they saw my client getting out from the passenger side. Now, I believe there was damage to the vehicle. I don't know if the driver's side
he could even get out.
I'm not sure. Based on the information that we had, based on the forensics, and based on just really the physical evidence on my client and in the car, it just wasn't really possible for my client to have been the one driving the car.
Yeah, that's so cool. I actually had a similar, I don't want to say a similar case, but I had a case that we lost. We appealed it, and the DCA wrote an opinion on the argument, but they said that it was harmless error. So they said that I preserved the issue, but they said it was harmless error because my client, this is what happened. So my client was accused of DUI. It was a crash. The problem was with the trials that the state had presented the witnesses out of order and had presented the officer, and the officer testified to hearsay saying that my client was the driver. And so I objected and I said he doesn't have personal knowledge to that. That's hearsay. And that would have been permitted had they presented the victim of the crash to testify to that first. But I objected. I laid my record. The judge allowed it in. And then the witness who was involved in the crash never identified my client as the wheel witness. So the reason why it was harmless error, which means that it was the judge's ruling in the trial was wrong, but it was harmless in the end because my client was ultimately making statements in the end about the crash. So but for those statements, we would have won the trial. So anyways, long story short, these are like technical. It sounds like a technical legal issue, I guess, when I'm describing it. But there is like proper procedure, and this is like partly evidence, obviously, but that is what we're talking about is an essential element of the crime that the state has to prove that this defendant was the one that committed DUI. And that's obviously a big deal. You don't want to be mistaken for somebody else.
No. And generally speaking, it's an officer that observes the driving pattern and stops the vehicle for whatever the driving pattern was, and then observes indicators of impairment. And that's when the DUI investigation begins. Or some other driver calls in, hey, there's somebody swerving all over the road, and a police officer comes out, and that police officer still will then wait and observe some of that driving pattern before they make a stop, because then they can say, I saw the driving pattern when I stopped the car, this was the driver behind the wheel, and they can then say, and then they observe the indicators of impairment, they can start building that DUI case out that way, but they still have to see that person behind the wheel. In a crash, in a DUI crash, the officer doesn't have to be the one that sees the person behind the wheel because there could be another witness. And one of the issues that this all ties into is operability of the vehicle. Because an inoperable vehicle, a person cannot be found to be DUI of an inoperable vehicle. Now, that's not in a crash case. That's in a regular situation. So what I mean by that, an example, and I've had a case like this, is there was a vehicle off the side of the road in an embankment, and the tires were lifted up in such a way that there's no way that vehicle could have been driven from that position, or the vehicle was broken in such a way that it couldn't be moved really without like a flatbed tow truck. That inoperable vehicle, if there was nobody that saw the person driving the car and there was no officer that saw the person driving the car or no other wheel witness that was able to say, I saw the person, really moving the vehicle, you have a problem. The state has a problem with their DUI. That's different than somebody just being pulled over on the side of the road with an operable vehicle. The car is running or the car is not running. The car could be off, but you have the key fob on you. You're in what we call actual physical control. And that's a big way that the state proves its case, is who is the person in actual physical control of the motor vehicle. Because at APC, you say as a prosecutor, that is the person that can lawfully be prosecuted for a DUI. If you were in that position where maybe the car wasn't on, maybe the car wasn't moving, but you are you have the ability to operate that vehicle at that time, and it is an operable vehicle, you could be the person that's charged with a DUI.
When I was a PD, I had a DUI. You're reminding me. I had a DUI. A client was, and it wasn't, so obviously DUI can be non-alcoholic DUI.
Right.
The officer saw my client parked with, I think the windows were down at a gas station. And I think he was like, had approached the car and smelled weed and was like, this guy, and I think the guy was like kind of like out of it, like loopy. He might have been sleeping, but then when he interacted with him, he saw that he was like kind of loopy. And so he thought he was DUI, and it was like 6 a.m. It was like a weird time. And he was like, he arrested him for DUI for smoking, like on DUI. Which
a marijuana
is like,
DUI, which is very difficult to prove.
Yeah, I was like, prove that he wasn't sleeping and that he didn't smoke hours before. You know what I mean? Like, because the smell reeks and it sticks around. So like,
well, with the new law change, that wouldn't have been a good enough anyways.
Exactly.
Because the smell alone would not be enough at least to start searching the vehicle, let alone to do a full. Now, with other indicators of impairment there that I'm sure the officer articulated, there are ways to get that DUI investigation going. But
this was back in 2019.
Yeah. Now with the odor alone, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, but it was just like I think the state either dismissed it or offered like a lesser or something. It was like definitely not a successful like DUI conviction case. Like but oftentimes that's when like the APC comes in, is when you're passed out behind the wheel, you have your key fob in your lap, and you're not really driving the car, but you're in actual physical control of the vehicle and it's operable. So they charge DUIs for that when you're asleep.
Yeah, or parked in a parking space in a public, in a park or a public lot or things. I mean, I've seen that
all the time,
many times.
Yeah.
And back in the day, somebody could sleep off a DUI. And officers would say, stay there and sleep it off. That's not a thing anymore.
No more
at all. Even if you're trying to do the right thing and be safe, you can't.
You want to know what? Something crazy happened to me as like a civilian. Okay. Not that I'm not always a civilian. I'm not a cop. Okay. Let me just clarify that.
Right.
But as a non-person in the courtroom, like not practicing. Okay. So I was in Texas with my friend and we went to like Whataburger. It was like 2 a.m. Our flight had landed at midnight. We go to Whataburger. We're like pulling up and there's this car that's like an SUV. It's blocking the Whataburger drive-through line like this, like parked like diagonal. So like you can't even like go around it. If like, you know what I mean? Like, so like, what the fuck? We're trying to get our burgers. So we get out of the car, park the car, get out, and we see this woman literally passed out behind the wheel. So I was like, oh my God, she's DUI, like immediately in my head. And I'm like, okay, a part of me wants to not be involved in this. Like, I do not want to like get involved. Like, let's go to another Whataburger, whatever. Anyways, my friend and I decide let's just like maybe like check on her. Maybe she's dead. We don't know. The car's running. She's literally passed out. So we just like tap on the window and no response. Tap again. And she's like wiping her drool and like getting up and she's like, and she like sees like where she is and what she's doing. She like ends up putting the car in reverse and driving off. She didn't even put the window down, nothing. She probably thought we were like coming for her. I was like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's like, but
DUI.
If I told you I've had probably 5 or so DUIs that I can remember that have taken place in or around drive-thrus at fast food restaurants.
Really?
I just resolved a DUI. A month ago. Last month. That was a individual at a Wendy's had tapped the car in front of them at Wendy's in the drive-through line. They were, and then my client parked at the Wendy's and was eating his food, and the police showed up and did a DUI investigation and arrested him.
He was probably just sobering up too.
I mean,
he was like, I'm just trying to get my French fries and burgers, guys. The fact that he stuck around after he hit another car to eat his burger is crazy. Like, leave.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like he tapped the car in front of him and didn't think it was a big deal, but the people in front of him got out and they looked at their car. I think their car was pretty much fine.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, that dude's wasted. And they called.
That girl that I tapped on her window definitely got away with DUI, I think.
Maybe.
That night.
You don't know for sure.
No, I don't know.
But I'm telling you, drive-through DUIs is like a real thing.
Yeah, it's either you're drunk or you're big back, like what we were doing. We were just wanting a burger at 2 a.m. We're like,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Let's go to Whataburger.
It's a free country, and these places are open
It's America,
super late.
too.
So if you want to eat and you want to go to a fast food restaurant in the middle of the night,
you can
fine
definitely consume 1,500 calories
But
at
if
any time
you're
of day.
wasted and doing that, which there's a good amount of people that probably are,
good luck.
Uber.
Yeah, Uber Eats. That's why Uber Eats is a thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
Anyways, so that is the point of all of this, is to say that you don't really need to be actually driving a car, but obviously we're talking about people who are driving at fast food restaurants. But especially nowadays, like, I don't know any vehicle that has like, I mean, obviously we're going to get into talking about golf carts, which do have actual like keys to start the golf cart, but like everything is push to start now.
For the most part, yeah.
Like even like you
Most
don't have,
cars are push
you
to
don't have to
start.
have a like 2024, 2025 car. Like,
But if you have that fob,
It's the
in
same
your
thing.
pocket or within your, immediate access, like that is going to be enough for you to be in actual physical control of the motor vehicle as far as a DUI is concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
But that means that a DUI can happen just about anywhere. It doesn't have to be a specific roadway. It can be in a parking lot. It can be in a parking spot.
Yeah.
It could be at a drive-through at a fast food restaurant. It could happen at any of these types of places.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, I think, segues into the next part of this episode, which is talking about I don't want to say what can be considered a vehicle, because certain things are not considered a vehicle and you can still get a DUI, like a BUI, boating.
Right.
Which is big in South Florida. That's a thing. I'm sure in other areas, like BUIs are not really a thing, like in the country.
No, but BUIs are huge in South Florida because there are a ton of people that are taking boats out and drinking.
Getting
and, Boca Bash, or all these different events where people get together with their boats and people are drinking and having a good time. There are cops everywhere waiting to give out BUIs.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It's crazy because you cannot drink in your car, but you can drink on your boat.
Well, no, you cannot. The rules are quite similar. You're not going to be you can't be there if there are other people on your boat drinking. That's a little.
That's what
versus
I'm saying.
Being in your car.
Yeah,
that's different.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a little bit different. Where that's something that's more that's okay.
It's like broader. Yeah,
but you
can't
be
operate.
The one that's
you can't
be getting wasted driving the boat. Like it's just and the punishments for a BUI have just gotten more and more serious because what they're doing is the statutes are treating them close to a DUI, and a lot of the same conditions that somebody would get after they're convicted of a DUI, a lot of the same probation conditions are going to be applicable or are applicable to BUIs.
Yeah.
And as you get to more serious versions where we're talking about, felony level, or we're talking about manslaughter level, a BUI manslaughter now has the same minimum mandatory prison sentence as a DUI manslaughter.
Yeah, and that was one of the new 2025 law changes you were talking about.
So that's they treat BUIs very seriously.
Yeah, it should parallel a DUI, but also
of course. Certainly the BUI manslaughter should be paralleling the DUI manslaughter.
Those are just so tragic.
They're horrible. They're really horrible cases.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not. It's always like such a tragedy every time. Like I just can't. Like it's really a sad.
It doesn't matter
situation.
what your role is involved in those cases. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
We talked about it on other episodes, and I've talked about it before. That handling, and I handled a DUI manslaughter that ultimately worked out for my client based on certain things that happened in the case. But going to that sentencing with the family of the victims and then making all the statements, and there's really no winners in those situations. They're horrible cases.
They're really
all
tough.
around for the court to deal with, for the lawyers to deal with. They're not easy. Cases to deal with,
especially like when like this person like has no criminal history and then they're facing like a minimum mandatory of X amount of years, and you're like just from one decision, which is to like drink and get behind the wheel, all of this happened.
Well, and you have to think about how all of the other DUIs that are out there, how lucky all of those other DUIs were from not being this situation.
Oh my God, I saw a statistic the other day. Oh my God, I got to get the exact number, but it's like people usually like DUI between like 300 to 1,000 times without getting caught before their first DUI arrest. It was like a crazy number, something like that. Like that statistic might be like, my numbers are probably like off, but like something like that.
That's
I was
crazy.
Like, and it was also a big range. So, but still like the bottom number was definitely in the hundreds. And I was like, I believe that. I do believe that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that should be opting for an Uber or don't. And we always, look at the examples where a celebrity gets or an athlete gets a DUI, and you look and you just think, like, why? Like, you had all this money, you have all the options. And even someone that doesn't have all that money and all the options, like, you still do have the option of taking the Uber home. Like, there is no situation where an Uber is more expensive than a DUI.
Or like calling someone.
Right. Right.
There are alternative they're not great, but
yeah, you can take the bus.
Yeah,
I mean, there are alternative there always is an alternative option to doing that.
It's just, I don't know. And you've said it before, but DUI is definitely like one of the worst misdemeanors you can be charged with because there's enhancements. And I don't know if we've talked about this in detail and I won't bore you with it, but as you get more DUIs on your record, your minimum sentence requirement increases, and it includes jail time after your second time. Like they are like requirement for jail, you within 5 years, like second within 5. And like that is common. It's like people who get DUIs, I mean, I don't want to say it's like, oh, it's very rare that it's a first time DUI or no, because obviously first time DUIs happen, but it's also very common to see where someone who gets DUIs has
multiple DUIs.
It's like,
and that I think also comes down to substance abuse issues.
Yeah, obviously,
because you have people that there are people that I've dealt with that get DUIs and that's it. They don't drink ever again. Like they're done doing anything illegal that they can control. Yeah. And that's you're totally right. It's very common to see recidivists in the DUI world. Yeah. Where especially in situations like in Palm Beach County, a lot of first-time DUIs where there's no crash involved and there's the breath level is below a certain level, they could qualify for a first-time diversion program where they don't wind up resolving the case to a DUI. They wind up resolving it to a reckless driving. Yeah. There are a lot of people that will get that reckless driving and then get arrested again for a DUI. And that then is their first DUI. Yeah. It's not technically their second. Yeah. And those people will find a way to continue to pick up DUIs. And you see, they got that reckless driving at the beginning and they didn't treat it as seriously as they should have. The consequences that come with a DUI are so numerous beyond just the being found guilty of something and having a conviction on your record permanently because you can't erase a DUI conviction. Beyond that, you're talking about having a year or more of probation with a list of conditions that you have to do, classes, community service, fines. Yeah. But then you talk about some of these other consequences, the collateral consequences, where you have license suspensions.
Oh my gosh.
You have insurance that you have to get. Special insurance for DUIs is so expensive and you have to pay for some of it up front. So, I mean, that's why you hear ads on the radio where it's like, oh, a DUI will cost you $10,000. Like,
literally.
That's minimum. True. and I don't even think that takes into account you hiring a good lawyer. Yeah. It's extremely serious, and the consequences really build up over time and can destroy your license, can destroy your ability to drive. I mean, it's not to say, you did the crime, you get the time, that's the consequence. But still, I mean, the consequences of somebody with no criminal history that went to, and we had a guest on the show that said it well, you go to Chili's and you get 2 for one night and they're watered down drinks, you get pulled over, you're getting a DUI. Yeah. Like it is the way that it is. It's very easy to get a DUI.
Well, the thing is, because of these like mandatory minimums associated with DUIs or like this sentencing requirement, these businesses that see these requirements capitalize on it. So they charge accordingly because they know that if you are getting arrested for DUI, especially we're talking about South Florida, like we're not in like the middle of nowhere. We're in a very common space where people come here to literally drink and party, aside from it being a busy place. And people often get arrested for DUI. These businesses know that they have to do ignition interlock, MAD or victim impact panel, DUI school and recommended treatment. If there's obviously substance abuse programs, all these things. Yeah. They know that. So they charge accordingly. And so things are very expensive. And not only that, the DUI school and recommended treatment that we were talking about this, like some people,
it is a huge scam.
But you cannot successfully complete probation.
You can't get your license back either.
Or get your license back until you complete this class with the recommended counseling treatment.
You have to do any conviction of a DUI, mandatory DUI school.
Every time, by the way.
And recommended treatment. So what happens is you complete the DUI school. There's different levels of DUI school if you've been there before. And you complete that course and then you're given an evaluation. And the evaluation is basically about your drinking habits and the way that you interact with alcohol. And then after that, there's a recommendation that's given if you need some sort of treatment.
For you to
and
come back to the person evaluating you,
right,
and getting paid.
And that person that's evaluating you and it's getting paid gets to say how many sessions you need. They are arbitrarily picking how many sessions you need to come back to pay them each time per session. And if you don't do that, you're not going to pass probation and you're not going to be able to get your license back.
Yeah.
So they completely take advantage of people, because I've had clients that will say, oh, okay, well, no criminal history, no drinking problem, no nothing, just the wrong night. And they have to do 7 treatment sessions. Okay. Then I have another client that'll come and say, well, I got 21 treatment sessions, 18. And it's just like,
it's so random.
It's a racket. It's a way that these companies make money because they know if they don't give the approval to do that and they don't sign off ultimately,
this person's going to get screwed. Yeah. So it's between their freedom or paying, and most people are going to try to pay.
Right. DUIs are an expensive. They are just expensive. Yeah. In conclusion, DUI is
I
very
feel like
expensive.
we're always like supporting Uber, but like also you can take Lyft, whatever. Like,
oh yeah,
we're not,
I say
like,
Uber, but that's just because it's like I use it like the way that you use Xerox or Band-Aid or
become the new
Kleenex. Like you just use the brand name for. That's what I'm saying. I don't care which rideshare we're not getting paid by Uber yet.
Yeah. I was gonna say, listen.
But
that'd be cool.
You could take a Lyft also.
Yeah.
Or whatever else exists in your area.
Our partnerships with Heelys and Uber are coming soon.
Yeah. That's what we need, is the partnership with Heelys is really that. When that one comes through, that one's going to be the big one.
You cannot get a DUI in.
Correct. That one you cannot get a DUI on.
So let's talk about the things you can get a DUI in. A boat.
So you can get a BUI in a boat. So that is covered by statute. Actual physical control applies on the water too.
Yeah.
And it's a common arrest, during the holidays, especially during spring break. It's a common arrest. You see a lot of BUIs, and the BUI getters are not always people from in-state. A lot of times they're out-of-state people that came down and they rented a boat or a jet ski, because you can get a BUI on a jet ski as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a common one, is the BUIs. Bicycles.
I think I've only ever had one of those.
I've never had one as a defense attorney, but I've definitely prosecuted
I was a PD.
a bike. A bike case, a bicycle.
And
that person didn't start out their DUI career on a bicycle. They got DUIs before they got that to the bicycle. Generally speaking,
you're like, that was their third time.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying it was in that circumstance, but
it was something like that.
Most likely. Yeah. It was not. That wasn't their first rodeo.
Yeah. The fact that people get that many DUIs within a short period is crazy to me. Or picking up a new DUI while on DUI probation.
Yeah, that's really the worst.
That's the worst.
I have that right now.
The worst thing you can do.
The worst thing you can do if you're on DUI probation or reckless driving probation for like a DUI that was mitigated is picking up a DUI. There's nothing that's going to piss off the prosecutors and judges more than that.
Sayonara.
Yeah. Kiss your license goodbye.
Literally.
That's it.
DUIs really get under our skin if you can't tell.
It's tough because it's so easy to get and it's so easy to avoid.
Yeah.
And from a community member standpoint, we don't want people picking up DUI after DUI after DUI.
Yeah, of course not. It's
at all. I mean, we're sharing the road. We're out on the holidays. I was out during the holidays driving with
your family.
My family.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want other drivers being out there on the road that are wasted.
I have New Year's anxiety. I don't like to go out on New Year's, even to a family member's house, because then I have to drive back home and I'm like, the DUIers are going to get me.
Yeah.
I'm actually scared because I've checked the blotter on January 1st.
You've checked the
DUI galore.
Yeah, usually
New Year's Eve is the worst.
That one and the night before Thanksgiving.
Yes, because everybody's partying.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
It's a fun night to party.
Yeah. Again, take an Uber or a Lyft home, and you're fine.
Golf carts, I said this already, you can get that's another big South Florida one. I'm sure other places don't have this as much, but golf carts.
There are a lot of communities where people just drive golf carts around, and then they take the golf cart out of the community and go to, down the street to the bar or wherever. And that's a DUI. You could just as easily. Yeah. And
they like literally have their beer in their hand. It's like, I know you're in Florida. You think it's like chill to have a beer and flip flops on in your golf cart and you're just chilling, but that can ruin your life.
Yeah. It can. And it's like it's funny to an extent, but you could just as easily get
I think the person that's doing that is thinking from such a harmless perspective, probably. True. But it's like you don't understand the gravity of what you're doing.
Yeah. And it's dangerous. South Florida is dangerous to begin with. With all the canals and all the other drivers out. I mean, there's just there are a lot of unfortunate circumstances where people will get into, even on golf carts, will get into crashes and people go into canals and you have people get, pinned and drowned. And it's like very easy for this stuff to happen. And it's very extreme scenarios, but this happens all the time. Yeah.
Literally, things escalate so quickly, and like, I don't know. I feel like we say that a lot, but like it's true. Like that's like the job we're in. We see things go from 0 to 100 real quick in every scenario.
In every scenario. Yeah. Whether that's people interacting with the police or just like something as harmless as going out for a ride on the golf cart. Yeah. You see cases all the time, especially the civil world sees these cases all the time. Yeah. Because people get injured and die. There's also scooters, which it depends on the scooter. I know that if it goes over a certain mile per hour, usually it's like an electric scooter. Yeah, well, with the electric scooters and the e-bikes, it's usually a matter of the size of the motor and the speed that it can go up to.
Exactly.
Those are usually the factors that get weighed in. And another, like dirt bikes is another one where if the motor is of a certain size, then that qualifies as a motor vehicle to begin with, so that...
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that would be easy for people to get a DUI on, because obviously a motorcycle, you can get a DUI no problem. Yeah. And I have those too.
And horses.
And horses.
I saw a video on Instagram that was this guy riding on his horse, and he literally was trying to get stopped. The police were trying to stop him. And he was like, with his bottle, and was like...
Did they bring a rope?
He literally went off with his horse. I was like, is this AI?
Galloped away into the night.
Literally. I was like, okay, bye. But yeah, those are other ways you can get DUIs.
I just love that. He's in actual physical control of a horse.
Yeah, like imagine seeing that case, like someone calling you and saying, I got arrested for DUI and I was just riding my horse in the acreage.
That'd be really funny.
That would be a thing. Like, I would not be surprised.
Could the lawyer blame the horse? It wasn't my client recklessly driving the horse. Yeah. The horse was the horse is off.
The horse
has got a hoof problem. Yeah. And now one of the horseshoes is not on right, and he's galloping a little bit.
It's got its mind of its own.
Yeah, he's swerving on his own. He's a horse.
How do you know the horse isn't impaired?
Well, that's its own problem. Start breathalyzing horses.
Let's see them do that beyond a reasonable doubt.
I've never seen a horse DUI go to trial, so that would be...
I haven't ever seen a horse DUI, but I would love to. I mean, not really, because I don't want anybody to get arrested for that, but if someone does, I would love to handle it.
But we talked about the example of Heelys.
And skateboards. Well, actually, we didn't talk about skateboards, but Heelys.
No, but Heelys and we'll include skateboards in there. There was a shout out to attorney Andrew McCain, who wrote an article for the Florida Defender in September of 2025. But he raised this question and it fit with what we're talking about, so we're bringing it up.
Yeah.
But after doing a thorough legal assessment, no, you're not going to get a DUI with a pair of Heelys.
Yeah.
But you can pick up a, resisting arrest on a pair of Heelys.
Disorderly.
You can pick up a disorderly intoxication on a pair of Heelys. So
which you can do anywhere.
Right. So there are, you can still get some alcohol related offenses with your Heelys, but you're not going to pick up a DUI.
Yeah.
Not going to pick up a DUI at those.
Yeah, you're safe in those. So stick to those to get around.
It's not a free pass, but yeah.
But you touched on this a little bit for major Florida case law changes, or not case law, like statute statutory.
Updates,
updates is that BUI manslaughter now has a 4-year minimum mandatory prison, which is the same as a DUI manslaughter requirement. So now they're trying to parallel the two, which is,
it
sucks, but
the same penalties for
it
what you do on land
is
the same penalties on water. If it's resulting in the ultimate worst case scenario, you should have. It makes sense that the statutes
they're the same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should be, but the 4-year min just sucks. And then if you have a prior conviction, manslaughter becomes a first-degree felony if the defendant has a prior qualifying offense. So
if you have a prior
like
DUI or BUI manslaughter, then a new one would become a first. God, hope that
would
wouldn't
be
happen. But
very. If this is your second, you're like oftentimes people, it's a one and done with the manslaughters. A lot of times those people are going to prison for a significant amount of time, and that's true.
That puts and getting your license back after that is, almost
good
impossible.
Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one that we see a lot associated with DUIs is leaving the scene of a crash. So leaving after a DUI or BUI manslaughter now carries the same penalties as leaving a fatal crash on land, which is kind of what we were saying with the same.
Yeah, again, tracks, but this is more specific to the additional charge of leaving the scene.
Yes. And finally, controlled substances enhancement. If alcohol or drugs are a significant contributing factor, courts may impose up to 12 months of probation, which requires a separate judicial finding for the court to give you that. But that is usually
that's in second-degree misdemeanors.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, a second-degree misdemeanor, the maximum probation that can be sentenced would be 6 months. But if a judge makes a special finding that
they can increase
controlled substances or alcohol were a significant factor, they can increase the amount of probation to 12 months.
Yes.
So that's a significant change in
anything associated with a misdemeanor.
Right.
A second-degree misdemeanor. So that was just a little side takeaway for alcohol and controlled substances and the new law changes in 2025. But overall, basically, the I wasn't driving defense is usually not a successful one.
Nope.
Unless you have, like we said, like the examples we gave in the beginning of the episode, which is the
unless
exception.
You can say, unless
there's
there was
no
another
real witness.
Right. And you can put another driver in the vehicle or the evidence really lays out. Yeah. And that's from a legal perspective, that's
exciting.
A fun case to be able to put together because you can show, hey, my client really wasn't the one that was DUI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that wraps up this episode. If you liked listening to us, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are on all platforms. Come back with a warrant.pod. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. And if you didn't like listening to us,
come back with a warrant.
Question: real estate in California. What the Seriously, can someone help? What's an escrow? What's an ARM? What is an REO? What is pre-approval? Can I get pre-approval? Why is inventory so low? Why are interest rates so high? Oh, interest rates not so high? How low is low? How not so high is right.
Before you go down the road of questions, get expert help at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?